Howdy and hello everyone, and welcome to 5008 Trackside, a series where I look into a rail service while showing you footage of it in action. Today's episode is the third in a mini-series where I'll be looking at every commuter rail in North America. Today we're looking at Sunrail, Orlando, Florida's commuter rail, and seeing how good it is as a commuter rail service. So, let's get started. Special thanks to Rose Lounge, Nolan Bradshaw, Huey Railfanning, The Nick, Cameron Ball, 09 Train Fan, That Columbus Spotter, Erie West Railfan, and Sunrail MV for the footage they provided for this video. Turns out this service isn't as underfilmed as I thought. You guys absolutely hit this one out of the park. If you would like to be a part of an upcoming commuter rail video, then email ray50082306@gmail.com with either a Google Drive folder or raw footage of the commuter rail you have, label it with your channel name, and label each clip with the location and train number, and then you'll be good to go. I'm actively looking for footage of the following commuter rails listed on screen. Starting off, we head to DeLand, Florida, the service's northern terminus. Here we see Loco 109 with a loud P5 horn leading a northbound train. DeLand Station is unfortunately the first in a trend for Sunrail stations. It's far from the city center in an extremely sparsely populated suburb. It's safe to say this station's ridership is almost exclusively from those who drive to the station or take one of the two bus routes that serve it. Sunrail runs from DeLand to Point Siena, Florida. Sunrail is rather new, starting service on May 1st of 2024. Sunrail uses a fleet of 20 Bombardier bi-level coaches and a fleet of 11 MP32 PH-Q locomotives, which are rebuilt Mark GP38-2WP locomotives. Sunrail runs every 30 minutes to an hour with a few gaps from 5 a.m. to midnight. Weirdly though, the service doesn't run on weekends. Now we head to DeBary, yet another station surrounded by a whole lot of nothing. Here we see two trains. First up is southbound train 339 departing the station. Next up is northbound train 334 arriving. Sunrail began development in 2007. The counties of Orange, Seminole, Osceola, Volusia, and the city of Orlando all voted for the Sunrail project. After this, the Florida Department of Transportation reached an agreement with Class 1 Freight Railroad CSX and made arrangements to purchase the trackage Sunrail was to run on from them for a rather hefty fee. The arrangement allowed CSX to run minimal trains along the line if needed, but thankfully this isn't often the case, and the only other trains that run along this line are the Amtrak long-distance services that run through the area. But just because no transit project can go without some kind of hurdle, the legislature failed to vote on an agreement to purchase the right-of-way and tracks from CSX in a 2008 session. The contract made between CSX and the Florida DOT was in place through June 30th of 2009, and the legislature planned to use another opportunity to consider and approve the agreement in the 2009 legislative session. The bill made it through all necessary Senate committee approvals, and by that time, the first segment of the project had already been approved to enter final design by the FTA in early August of 2008. But with a win comes a loss, as the project was once again defeated by a 23-17 vote in April of 2009. Sunrail was not exactly having the easiest time getting started, which is nothing new for commuter rails in the US, unfortunately. Next stop is Sanford, Florida, a stop being notable for being the southern terminus of Amtrak's Auto Train, a train that carries not only passengers but their cars too, providing an easy form of transportation once you get off in Florida. The first train we see here is southbound train 317 with cab car 2003 at the lead. The last train we see here at Sanford is train 314, a northbound to D-Land. Back to Sunrail's planning. After the project was defeated by that April 2009 vote, it seemed almost completely dead, especially with the June 30th deadline looming. Thankfully, CSX extended the deadline, allowing for negotiations to continue. I know, for once a freight railroad was doing something actually helpful for passenger rail service. In December of 2009, a contractual agreement necessary to get funding to Sunrail and Florida's other, already operating commuter rail service, Tri-Rail, was passed, granting money to the project. After all that and a few more hurdles for extra measures, because of course they had to be there, construction on Sunrail's infrastructure began on January 27th of 2012. Now we make a rather large jump to Winter Park, Florida, which, judging by how many clips I got at this station, appears to be a rather popular railfanning spot. First up is southbound train 323 with cab car 2010 at the lead. Next is southbound 320 with Loco 101 at the lead, feat a rather nice sounding P5 horn. Now we see southbound train 325 with the rather infamous cab car 2008 at the lead, which thankfully did not use its horn in this clip. Now, the last train we'll be seeing here at Winter Park is train 327 with cab car 2010 at the lead. Most of the work done for Sunrail service start was double tracking the corridor, building stations, and upgrading signals. The Sunrail route was split into 3 segments. Phase 1 would stretch from Salt Lake Road Station, just south of Orlando, to D-Barry. Phase 2 south would extend the line from Salt Lake Road to Point Siena. Phase 2 north would extend the line to D-Land. Phase 1 was completed in early 2014, allowing for Sunrail to begin service finally on May 1st of 2014 after around 7 years of work. So what did the service give the residents of Central Florida? It was good, but it definitely had room to grow. Now we head to downtown Orlando Station for a Sunrail decked out for America's 250th birthday. This train had Loco 110 at the lead, with a few taps from its less than stellar horn. Sunrail is a rather mixed bag when it comes to stations. All stations from Longwood to the downtown Orlando station along with Kissimmee are perfectly built, being surrounded by development and whatever bus services the car-centric hellscape of Florida has to offer. Outside of all that though, all stations are typically far from city centers and are rather barren with only a surface parking lot. And because it's the only chance I'll get, shout out to Tupperware. Yes, you heard that right, Tupperware and Kissimmee Station, which were the only Sunrail stations I visited on my 2023 Florida trip, which was more for parks than rail fanning, but after I realized Sunrail didn't run on weekends, I left after catching one Amtrak. Speaking of Sunrail's schedule, they boast a rather packed schedule, with them just recently adding late night service back to the schedule after it was removed in 2015 due to low ridership. Despite all this, Sunrail doesn't run on weekends, even after they tested it out for a bit. The reason being low ridership, which is honestly rather odd considering the tourist hotspot of Orlando. But then again, that's more of an outer areas of Orlando thing, not entirely downtown. Now we head to Taft, Florida to see some Sunrail trains at speed. First up is train 316 with an attempted horn show from Loco 107. Now we see the 250th anniversary wrap once again on train 320 with an interesting conversation happening on the scanner.
Hopefully it's look good. Y'all be safe. Great weekend. Michael said, so you ain't bring me no turkey, man. What's up?
And finally, we have a northbound and a southbound, one with Cab Car 2002 at the lead, and another with Loco 103 at the lead, both with interesting horns. Thankfully though, it's safe to assume that this issue of no weekend service may soon be fixed, as Sunrail's joining Brightline and running not only to the Orlando International Airport, but also running to stations closer to major tourist destinations such as SeaWorld Orlando, the Universal Orlando Resort, and of course, Walt Disney World. As it stands currently, that expansion will most likely happen in around 2030. As it appears, it will be funded mostly by Brightline, who is experiencing some financial troubles due to their increase in ridership being lower than they thought. But let's be honest, who really thought they'd manage 6 million riders this year? We're now nearing the end of the route as we reach Meadowood Station. Here we see Loco 105 making a departure from the station with a nice horn show from its rather nice P5 horn. Overall, Sunrail is a rather above average but not insanely great commuter rail. They appear to be on the right path but still need work to do on their development around their stations. But to say Sunrail is rather overshadowed by Tri-Rail in South Florida is unfortunately true, and I feel many people don't give Sunrail the credit it truly deserves and only see it as that other commuter rail in Florida. And now, to end off the video, we head to Kissimmee, Florida for train 317, making its departure with a friendly 2-tap on the horn. So let's answer the question of this video. Is Sunrail any good? I'd say it is. While it does still have a long way to go before it can be called close to perfect, it's not awful and sees rather good ridership given its region and service. But what do you think? Is Sunrail as good as it seems? Say your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for next episode where I go over SEPTA, one of America's best, yet most horrifically underfunded and poorly managed commuter railroads. So, as always, I was 5008 Creations, you were the viewer, and I'll see you in the future. Goodbye.